to talk more about the UN's climate agenda and global solutions, we're joined by Daniel Kreeger from Arlington, Virginia. He's the Executive Director and co-founder of the Association of Climate Change Officers. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me this evening.
So I want to first start with UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He didn't mince words in telling the world to grow up and deal with climate change. Walk us through some of the highlights of his comments.
Yeah, well, I think that in and of itself is the highlight. The history of the international climate policy dialogue is a lot of finger pointing. And at the end of the day now, we've run out of time. We all need to step up our games. We're not doing enough. And world leaders need to make this their #1 priority. I think his comments are exactly what was needed, and I'd love to see more of that.
And we did see the Chinese President Xi Jinping use his speech to make a key pledge to no longer build new coal-fired power projects abroad, and also reiterated that Beijing will seek to peak carbon dioxide emissions by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. What are your thoughts on these pledges?
Well, I think that that's an important one. It was important in 2015 when he made that agreement with then President Barack Obama. It was critical to the global confidence that forged the path forward that became the Paris Agreement, was needing to see the historic largest polluter of greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S. and the current largest polluter of greenhouse gases in China make aggressive commitments. And that then paved the way for the rest of the world to say we're going to move forward in a way that was greater than what was happening previously through the Kyoto Protocol. That said, it's not enough.
And to that point, we also have President Biden making his first appearance at this forum. Break down the U.S.'s commitments to climate action under President Biden.
Well, President Biden has taken what were the original Obama commitments of 26 to 28% reduction of GHG emissions and scaled them up considerably in line with what the climate science community says is needed globally to reduce emissions. He also now has put more money on the table to help countries who are going to be most impacted and who most need resources to invest in clean energy. That is leadership by example, and we need more of that everywhere.
And so where did this week's meetings fall short, or some of these outcomes fall short in your view?
Well, the UN Climate Summit takes place every year in New York, and it's not enough time to draw up what is the next agreement going to be. It's a stepping stone, and really we're all going to be looking towards Glasgow to see how we build upon where we are today. Here's where we are today. The Paris Agreement was a major step in the right direction, but it was not enough. The reductions that have been contributed, the commitments that have been contributed from most of the world, 190 nations, have not added up to be enough. Just the commitments, not the implementation, are not enough to get the reductions to where the science community says overwhelmingly they need to be. And as a result, the warming effect is not being limited to where the science community says it needs to be. So as we look forward to Glasgow, we have to figure out how do we take a bottom-up approach where every country is saying this is what we're willing to do and ratchet it up when there's no top-down mechanism available.
And we did see that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres laid out 3 goals with the Glasgow negotiations. He wanted to see emission reductions of about 45% from 2010 levels by the year 2030, $100 billion in annual financial help from rich to poor countries, and half of that money going to help poor nations adapt to warming's worst impacts. Now, we've consistently seen world leaders hesitate to really commit to these things. How will things be different going forward?
Yeah, well, this is at the heart of this is the finger pointing that's been going on for 30 years. Who caused the problem versus who's impacted by the problem versus who is going to be the leading cause of the problem in the future and who should pay for it all. And at the end of the day, now what we're talking about is we are one species of people, regardless of jurisdiction or nationality or sovereign nation, and we're all going to have to put forward resources, and we're not putting forward enough. Those who have the most resources are going to need to contribute the most in order to protect the world, but also to protect their own economies. We're a globalized economy now, and those dollars are going to have to be ratcheted up considerably.
Well, thank you for your insights. We do appreciate it. Daniel Kreeger there, Executive Director and co-founder of the Association of Climate Change Officers.
Thank you for having me.